anything that is big enough for your spouse to call off the relationship is big enough to be a ground for divorce. Even on that customary practice, if you take it up and say that the reason why I want to leave my husband's marriage is because my husband is always beating me. Even your king cannot force you to be married. Even because label differences just simply means that there are things that you are doing that I don't like and I don't want. No. And I don't want to continue in the marriage with you. We have not been able to settle or come in, right? Even because label differences actually mean that you can almost be doing something illegal as far as I
agree with you. You can continue, because I was going to say that you can continue.
That's why we have condemnation of adultery. Yes, adultery may be a ground of divorce, but the other party can condone it.
Hello and welcome. My name is Adenike Yarikwa and I'm your host. This is a continuation of an extensive 2-hour conversation on various issues relating to marriage, which we have now broken down into multiple parts. You can start by either listening to this episode or other previous episodes to enjoy the full conversation.
That's why verbal abuse would fly, right? Because it's the psychological torture.
Yes.
People should go by the Anti-Torture Act.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Saying things to people is a form of torture.
Yes, to manipulate them.
You understand? It's a form of torture, which we have the Anti-Torture Act is there. We will have the Violence Against People Prohibition Act.
Yes.
Right? So we are talking about this torture, right? He's always saying things like this to me. He's always saying things like that to me. And the rest. In also situation where I did also thing, he says so and so to me. He says so and so. So what the judges may do at the end of the day may say, okay, I want people to go for counseling.
Okay.
Many I've done matters like that where the judges will say he wants to refer the couple back to counseling, right? And say like, okay, this thing is actually something people can work on through counseling. But if people refuse to work on it through counseling, there is no option. I may still have to. I know it's only about few judges that have I know few judges, and in fact, I know one of the Shagamu judges, and I know a judge in Ibadan here who refused divorce because they mentioned that the couple could have not actually shown, they were unable to prove the reason for which they wanted to divorce.
A ground for the divorce.
Right. One of those particular, one matter I remember now that the couple were not granted a divorce was that the person was trying to prove separation, that they have been separated for
a while,
for a particular period. Right. And they could actually not prove that separation. Because separation is not just the fact that the two of you have been living apart. To a large extent, many judges want you to show that the reason why the two of you have been living apart, the reason why the two of you have been living apart is because of the disharmony in the relationship.
Not that you're living apart, but you guys still
go
and visit each other.
Exactly.
Do everything together.
Exactly.
Or at least a semblance of together.
Yeah, probably like, okay, maybe somebody's working in Ibadan and the other person is working in Abuja.
Yes.
And
you're not together. You are separate, but you are still together.
You are still together.
Yes.
The separation did not happen because of a quarrel, because of an offense.
Yes.
The separation happened because of work, sending you here and there. So you have actually not proved the separation. The separation may not start for those kind of people. Some judges may not agree that the separation started from when
conflict started.
I told you that you should resign your job to come and join me, but you refused. Now we know there's a separation.
There's a conflict.
There's a conflict. You understand it now, but when there was no conflict and people just started living apart, ordinarily it's not sufficient for you to just say, we have been living apart.
Yeah.
Some judges will want you to interpret the living apart. What caused the living apart?
Mm-hmm. In addition to the grounds you've already mentioned, are there any other ones? Because I think I remember that, non-consummation of the marriage also is a ground.
The thing about this is that, we are looking at it from
let us keep it PG so that
Yes, of course. We are looking at people who are already married and there's a conflict. You know, there are two things. There are, will I say two or three, but they are married. The conflict has happened to their relationship. Then there is two, they are married, but they have not been able to complete everything
to be able to
that makes a marriage. For us to actually say there's a valid marriage. Do you get it? Then three, they are married. They may have done everything to complete it. They may have done everything. They may have done everything to complete it, but the marriage was hinged and based on fraud. Do you understand now? So is this three we are looking at? So let's look at it from what? Based on fraud, right? So I am AS, but I lied to my wife that I was AA. So she married me believing that I was AA. It's a ground.
Based on a false information.
That's a false information. False misrepresentation.
Yes. Intended to manipulate the person.
You understand that? I am Asa, but I come and I lie to her that I'm Yoruba.
If I come and I say my father is just a teacher, I say my father owns the cocoa house.
Exactly. Okay. Now, to a large extent, it could also be a ground because there are some people who don't want to get married to a political family, who don't want to marry to a public family because of what it entails. If you see most of the queens and the rest that have suffered in history, whether the medieval world, the African world, the Arab world, and the rest, it was always because they were forced into marrying the king. The king saw them beautiful and just came to marry them for their father and the rest. It was more like a forced marriage and the rest. And when they got into the marriage, what was the problem was that this kind of life is not the kind of life I have to live. You see the case of Charles and Princess Diana.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be an everyday girl. But who you are married to says you have to act like a princess. I don't know that. So yes. That your family is even rich and you claim that you are a village bike rider. And he married you, thinking that he married a village bike rider.
Can
also be a problem. Because I don't want to be in this spotlight. It's the same thing. It's the same thing of people saying they don't want to marry a pastor. It's exactly the same thing. Yes. I want to marry a godly brother. I just want to marry a Christian brother.
When you marry the godly brother, the brother become a pastor.
It becomes an issue. Yes, we have seen many people who oppose the ordination of their spouses because they don't want to be married to a pastor. Even my wife broke up with one of her ex because the guy wanted to become a pastor.
No, she was coming to the house of a pastor.
She ended up marrying me, and now I'm not a pastor. You get that? But there are people who have those true valid reasons. So there could be those that are based on fraud. Maybe one person is impotent, or one person already know that she cannot have children because of health issues, certain sickness, or one person has a terminal ailment, or for example, there's albinoism in the family and the person did not mention, and like, you know, there are grounds like that. In fact, I usually say something that this is how I break it down. I will say anything that is big enough for your spouse to call off the relationship is big enough to be a ground for divorce.
Because it's not satisfactory to them.
Exactly. If it's big enough, if this information that you are keeping, if you tell it to your partner, if your partner has this information, your partner will definitely not want to marry you again. If you keep such information and you end up still getting married, it's a ground for your partner.
So, I think it's clear that you should be opened.
You just have to tell the truth. People just don't know what they are getting to.
Some people have certain issues that, if I tell her about my past, if I tell her, I'm impotent, if I tell him that I had a child, the person might not want to marry me anymore, out of fear and things like that. But, it's very clear, just like you said, you should be honest.
Because by the time you get married,
the person
and that information now comes out,
eventually,
the person may want a divorce.
And you spend time, you spend money, you spend your life.
It's intolerable behavior. right? They will also have the ones that they may say, oh, they are avoid and the rest, maybe because they are married, but they have not yet consummated the marriage. You see, when a couple, they are married and they have not yet consummated the marriage, or they are not living in the same house together, it does not mean that their marriage is bad. It does not mean, it only becomes a problem when one person is no longer comfortable with it. If the other person sees it as fine or condones it, it's, you know, the truth about that is the same thing that I say. Whatever is making couple A divorce is making, it's not couple. There are many people in couple B, you will not.
Yes. So it's personal to each. So each is home. To each family, it's home.
You understand it now? So that's why we are like, sometimes you see some people who want to divorce and are like, this is not supposed to be a big deal.
Yes.
But it's not ordinarily supposed to be a big deal, maybe because we are looking at it from our perspective. But from their own perspective, it's not something they can deal with. You see some people say, oh, I cannot marry somebody that snores.
Yes.
Is it a ground for divorce? It may necessarily not be a ground for divorce. But then, this is it. Is that snoring can make other aspects of the relationship degenerate.
One thing is another.
So that you will not have a lot of things.
Yes.
You get it now?
Yes.
You now have a lot of things because you are irritated from the snoring. So you are now always being insultive.
I mean, one of the things I've learned from what you just said also is that most of the time, nobody goes into a marriage and say, oh, I'm going to stay with you, except maybe it's a contracted marriage. They've already agreed to it. And that also is I think it's an offense when you both go into marriage, the intention is like defrauding the system. So that's even a problem. But nobody goes into a marriage and say, okay, fine, into a marriage saying, oh, in the next 2 months, I want to divorce. It is usually things and experiences that happen in the marriage that leads to people to say, yes.
Although there's a rise in people going in now want to divorce, and the courts have also started taking notice of them. People who just get married to jackpot. So when they come, so now after they have jackpot, maybe after 1 year or 2 years,
they come
when they did not come up and start saying they want to divorce. So the courts are paying attention to it, right? They will not stop you from divorcing, but they make your journey a little bit rough. They don't rush it. To them, it's never an emergency. The moment they suspect, once they suspect that, like for example, the two of you got married, immediately you got married, you relocated, immediately you relocated, you don't have any child together, and now you are saying you want to divorce. They start suspecting you.
Suspicion.
Yes, there's just suspicion like, oh, okay. But then they cannot force two people.
Yes. That's what I was.
Who don't want to be together.
Yes.
But then they will not take your matter in a hurry.
Maybe give you another.
And there's so big.
Another 2 years.
It's not like people having children that you are talking about custody and welfare over. Is that or do you want to marry somebody else? You will never agree to court and say you want to marry somebody else.
Because that's even an offense.
Exactly, because you want to marry, okay, it means that you are the one who have not even contributed and played your role well in this marriage.
Thank you for listening to this episode. The conversation still continues and you can listen to other parts of the recording in the next episode. See you there.